Welcome back, everybody, to our Wellness Awareness Series interviews. I am super excited. I'm Lacey Grimm. Most of you know. I'm super excited to introduce you to Katie Nall, who is an expert in EFT, and she will tell you what that means. You should be excited about this because I am so excited about this. I have been eager to talk to somebody who would simplify EFT for us, for me personally, because tapping is usually what I hear. People hear that word tapping, and I'm just really, really excited to learn a little bit. So, Katie, would you first introduce yourself and tell us how you sort of came into this line of work?
So, Lacey, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be a guest on your show. I'm so excited about it. I think I'm more excited than you are. I don't know if that's possible.
It's not a competition, but I'm more excited.
So in 2010, I was finishing up my dissertation on my PhD in mathematics education, and I wanted to help my students overcome what I saw as a fear of math. I believe that every student's capable of learning math. I've seen it, but when I would say the word math, they would just like flip out, right?
Yeah.
And so I was looking for a way to help them, and all my research found nothing. So I gave up trying to find a way to help them overcome their fear of math and just started looking for how do people overcome fear in general. And I ran into Nick Ortner's Tapping Solution in 2010 and bought the book, studied, figured out how to do it on my own. And I work at a college, so college students were coming in. They just needed one last class to graduate. Guess what? Math. And so I was helping them, and it was starting to work, and people were coming in and saying, thank you, I can't believe I got through this. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh. And I thought, Lacey, maybe I should get some training because I'm just like practicing this on my own, and I kind of have some idea, but I don't know. And I went through level 1 and level 2, and it turned out I didn't know what I was doing. And then I ended up going through level 1, level 2, level 3. I've actually gone through trauma and quantum tapping.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have another year to go before I can become a tapping trainer, and that's a goal of mine. Oh, wow. But I've used it successfully with college math students, and I now have clients literally all over the world from age 2 to seasoned adults. And we work not only with math, but with a lot of different emotions, different feelings, and it is crazy effective.
Yeah. Well, so I love that you've pinpointed this one specific need, because I think you're so right. It's such a huge need. We have homeschooled for a while. A lot of people are homeschooling for the first time ever. And I think it's hard for teachers to be able to help students when fear is the block, because fear is, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're trying to learn if fear is in the road, right? But yeah, I mean, math, pinpointing that specific thing is so, for me, like, oh yeah, no, this is what we need to work on. Makes it tangible, because fear as general is too big, right? But I love this is so exciting. Okay, so you worked with college students. You work sort of individually now with folks, or what does your ideal client kind of look like?
Well, Lacey, I work with groups and helping them overcome a lot of different emotions, and I do work with clients one-on-one, both face-to-face, not anymore, but face-to-face, but also on Zoom. And like I said, I have clients of age 2 on, and they are all over the world. So
very cool. So you're doing a lot of this already, this online kind of thing.
Yeah, and Lacey, because of the situation we're all living through right now, I'm offering my sessions for free as long as space is available. Okay. I usually charge, just so you know, and have paying clients that have paid for 3 one-hour sessions, usually pay $500. Wow. So I'm offering free 1-hour sessions.
Oh my goodness, Katie, that's huge. We're signing up.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
So, okay, would you share maybe like a specific testimony of somebody who has used your techniques to overcome certain things, or to make themselves more or less fearful, or I don't know, give us some examples.
So, and I have permission from my clients to be able to share these stories. So just so you know, first of all, I'd like everyone to understand I'm a mathematician who has gained these additional skills. But some of my clients include a career Air Force pilot who had fear of driving over bridges, and that's been eliminated.
He could fly a plane, but he was afraid of bridges. because I'm afraid of both. So
Yeah, and he no longer is. I've had clients who have had a fear of spiders to the point where, you know, they couldn't go outside,
wow.
and that's gone. I've had clients who've had a lot of students who've had fear of math or test taking. And one of my best stories is I had a high school senior who she'd taken the ACT, which is a standardized national test,
Yeah.
and she scored well, but she wanted to score higher. So she studied like crazy, took it a second time, and her second time her grade went down. And so it was 1 week before she was going to take it the third time, and she realized she didn't have time to study, and she was panicking. And so her parents reached out to me, and we did 3 sessions the week before, and she contacted me after she got her scores back, and she had raised her ACT scores by 90 points, which is a significant difference.
That is.
And the only thing she had done differently was tapping.
Wow. Okay, so now we need you to describe for us, maybe even show us a little bit, what does tapping look like? I mean, you know, you hear this tapping and you're like, tap on wood, tap on, what do you tap on, right? So can you give us some examples, some visuals?
Sure. I'm going to tell you about the most common, and then I'm going to tell you about a COVID method.
Oh, yay. Great. Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay. So the first thing is to wash your hands, 20 seconds, right?
Okay.
Which I did right before this interview.
Yes.
And then once you wash your hands, I'm going to show you the 8 tapping points that we normally use.
Okay.
One of them is on the top of the head, and you can use your right hand, your left hand, or both hands. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay.
So, and you tap on there 3 or 4 times. And then on the edge of your eyebrow, again, you can use one or the other or both. And on the edge of the eyebrow, right above your nose. So if anyone's just listening and can't see, I'm going to describe those places as well. And then on the side of the eye, between your eye and your hairline, again, either side or both.
Is that the temple? Yeah.
Right at the temple level. Thank you. And then under the eye, that's, Lacey, where I store all my bags. So
me too, right? Cargo goes there.
There you go. And then under the nose is the next point. And then you tap 3 or 4 times under your lips, right above your chin. And then use both hands and tap on your collarbone. Or if you want to use one hand, you can extend it so you have your thumb on one side and your little finger on the next, and you tap right there. And then I love this next move. So if you're able, you can give yourself a hug and tap about 4 inches below your armpit, or you can do the monkey move and tap about 4 inches below your armpit separately, either way. So those are the general points.
Okay, now, can I just say that seems way too easy? That doesn't seem, how is that going to do anything? What is that doing?
So the answer is we're not sure, but but what I can tell you is that it works. Those 8 points are actually points on the meridian that are based from the traditional Chinese medicine, and they believe that there are 12 meridians that are flowing through our body, much in the way that we have a number of Western medicine has defined different types of systems, our muscular system, our I don't know all the answers. You know, all the different,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. You're homeschooling now, so you've got all that down.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, but the traditional Chinese medicine uses these meridian systems, and they talk about in terms of energy flow. And so these 8 points connect to about 98% of the meridian systems. This is where the meridians cross. And Gary Craig, who is an electrical engineer trained by Stanford University, is the one who kind of put all this together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When was that? Recently or?
1990s. And he put everything out on the internet for free.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Nick Ortner picked it up in the early 2000s because, again, it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Peta Stapleton, who is a university professor out of Australia, has done years of clinical studies and have found it to be more effective than cognitive behavior therapy or EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization response, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And EFT stands for
Emotional Freedom Technique.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. All right. So the next, your COVID example, right?
So, well, I'd like to point out one more thing, is that studies have found that tapping on those 8 points is effective, not as effective as when you add phrases to it. And here's the part that's interesting and made my husband absolutely crazy. He was my first guinea pig, right? And so I said, okay, so what are you worried about or what are you concerned about? And he's like, I have no worries, I have no concerns. Come on, you can tell me. And he's like, no, you've told me all these years to be positive. And I'm like, well, it's not working and you're not positive, so get over it. So we found something that he was frustrated by. And when you add it, there's actually another point that we do that's on the side of the hand, and we do that in conjunction with those 8 points. But for someone who's at home and just wants to do a simple one, if they would just identify one issue that they're concerned about. I've talked to a lot of clients and they're scared. So if you just say, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, while you're tapping those points, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, what it does is it allows that emotion to move. And Lacey, if you think of the word emotion, the key word there is the word motion. And emotions are meant to move through us and to move us, to energize us. And what happens is when the emotions come through, and when they get stuck, that's when they have a challenge. So what this does is it helps the emotions move through us and to release them.
Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, it's really just about owning your feeling and identifying it, giving it value, and letting it go. Yeah, no, I love it. Oh, I love it. Okay.
So the COVID method is, and this is actually acupuncture steps, is that if you work on the edges of the fingernail or the ends, either way, but or I mean the middles, but if you work on the edges of the fingernails, so you're not touching your face,
and you're just kind of squeezing
the edges of the fingernails, and you can repeat those negative phrases. Now, Lacey, once you know where those spots are and you can feel them, you can use your thumb to just press on the edges of your fingernails. And the nice thing about it is that you can be pressing on the edges of your fingernails and no one will ever notice.
So I told Katie before we started the call that I did watch a little. Nick Ortner did something recently online, and I was watching it, and I was in the office, the shared office space, and I started doing the tapping in the room, and I'm just like, I don't care if anybody's watching, but that's way more discreet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. It's a little more discreet. Right.
Okay. And easy. I mean, you can just do it over and over if you feel like you need to, right? Yeah.
Right. Because the whole idea, Lacey, is we want those emotions to move through us.
So we say, instead of suppressing that I'm scared feeling, which we all have every right to feel scared right now, to just be like, I'm scared. And I like that. Okay. Simple.
Yeah.
So simple. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, and crazy effective. That's the part that's crazy. Now, I've spoken to some people who said, oh, I tried tapping and it never worked. There's a couple of things. I found that some of my clients are hesitant to say the negative out loud because we've been trained, right, to be positive.
Well, I was surprised when you said that. I thought you would come up with a counter like affirmation phrase, but you didn't, which is
the affirmation phrase is when we do it on our hand.
Oh.
So when I start it with a client, I'll give you an example. We would say, even though I'm feeling scared right here, right now, I accept the way I feel. And so you say that 3 times to kind of balance it all out. And then you'd go with I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, all the way through. But I want to caution people who, all of your audience members that may say, oh, I've tried tapping, or I'm doing it with Katie and Lacey and it's not working. There are nuances
we don't have any viewers or listeners that are skeptics, though. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not really worried, but please continue.
Yeah, but there are nuances that may be missed. For instance, I work with many clients who have done tapping in the past and it didn't work. Sometimes you need an outside person to ask questions to kind of get to, okay, well, what are you scared of? Are you scared of getting COVID? Are you scared of dying? Are you scared of being in quarantine with your family? Are you what are you scared of? And so having a practitioner dive a little bit deeper, because I'll give you a great example. One of my clients who was scared of spiders, I said, well, what part about spiders scare you? And he said, I hate walking into all the webs. So we were able to clear all of his fear of walking into the webs in one session, no problem. And I checked in with him later. I said, well, how are you doing? He said, well, I still am scared of spiders. I was like, well, what are you scared about now? He's like, I hate the way they move with all their legs. I didn't ask, what else are you scared of?
Right.
And so you can have one emotion that has all these different aspects or legs, right? And we have to work on them. Now, conversely, Lacey, this is really interesting. We may have a limiting belief. For instance, like a great one is, I can't make too much money. Because if I make too much money, people have all these limiting beliefs. Right. Yeah. And it's supported by all these things that we've seen in our life. Right. So what happens is if we work with one little aspect at a time that is supporting that limiting belief, we may not have to get to the core, which I may have lived in poverty all my childhood. We may not even have to get there just by handling these aspects one at a time, and the limiting belief disappears.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of limiting beliefs coming up surrounding COVID, maybe not specifically, but, oh, I can't homeschool my kids and I will fight all the time. I'm not good at math, all of these different little things that pop up kind of as a result of other fears. It's kind of like this progression, right? And I think that it's so important that people realize that, there's a lot you can do by yourself. And these tools are amazing that Katie's already shared, but having somebody guide you through this process, and this, is true for almost any healthcare practitioner that does a good job, is going to ask you the right questions and help you kind of get to the inner peace that's really the main issue, right? So I love that. I think that's so important that people understand the power of working with someone is really huge.
Please let your listeners know that my first priority is anybody who's on the front line, and that could be healthcare workers, but it could also be Instacart people. It could be grocery employees. It could be. There are a lot of people who don't have the flexibility or the choice to be able to stay at home. And so those are my top priorities, is to help those people. I'm so grateful and so thankful that I have the flexibility to be able to stay at home. And I'm so thankful and so grateful for my Instacart lady, Cheryl, who delivered my groceries. But, those people have to be out.
They do.
And those are my top priority.
And I totally see that too. We had to go to the store to get something last week, and just walking into the store, I was like, oh, these people, how do they sleep at night knowing they've been in this room all day long? And I can see how your services would be huge for them. Okay, so lastly, what is one little thing that you do outside of EFT every day to feel your healthiest and to stay your best?
Qigong.
Say that? What?
Qigong. It's the ancient, it's thousands of years old, and it's an exercise that is amazing because it exercises your internal organs.
Well, now we're starting a whole nother interview. Okay, so that's something I think we're all going to have to look up and then maybe come back to, because that sounds fascinating.
Yeah. And I will tell you one last story about tapping, is that when we are stressed, one of the things that happens when we're stressed is our lungs shut down. And there was one EFT practitioner who was on a cruise ship who did contract COVID-19. And it was through his tapping
Mhm.
that he survived.
Wow. Well, and that's, I mean, the lungs are the most important element to support during this issue. So
Right.
that makes a ton of sense. So
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I'm
Thank you.
thrilled to have these little tools, and I hope everyone connects with you in some way or another. You can visit Katie's website, which we'll have linked everywhere that we post this interview. Please share these tools with your friends, share this interview with your friends. It's such a simple and free for them tool that they all deserve access to. So thank you again, Katie, so much. Oh,
Thank
also,
you.
one last thing I wanted to plug is Katie Nall actually did a TED Talk. So we will, I'm surely that's linked on your website. But if you want to hear even more from Katie, you can do that in such a really beautiful speech that she gave.
Thank you.
And I hope you all do check her out. So anyway, Katie, thanks again. It's been
Thanks,
a real
Lizzie.
honor.